Esperanza 243. You are here to watch and or listen to me read a book out loud. It is a personal book, actually, called Aquatica. This is part 12. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I finally started this. I'm getting back to this, thank goodness. I do apologize for the long, huge wait. I don't know why I keep procrastinating the videos for Aquatica. I'm having so much fun with the reading, and I'm really glad I'm redoing this particular book. One, because the title is finally my originality and not Disney. And two, it has changed so much over the years. It's changed since the first reading that I need to make sure that you guys are updated. And of course, after reading this, after editing everything, it is not going to be reread ever again, at least until I publish it. And I'm pretty sure it's going to change again, but I'm not going to do another reread, mainly because it's such a huge hassle. And I know you guys already, right now I'm working on the second reading of it, so that's good. And just a few things quickly before I start doing the recap of part 11. And if you haven't noticed, there's a huge change of my hair, not to mention my etiquette. I'm working on my speech etiquette since I've done the Alps University for Special Olympics. And if you don't know what that is, check out their website, somo.org, SOMO.org, O-R-G. It's a lot of fun. AlpsU is Athlete Leadership Program University, and you can find out more about it on their website. I have already done the first semester, and hopefully next year I will be able to graduate, which is really cool. I'm going to be one of the first athletes to graduate, which is surprising. Oh man. Anyways, let me just talk about just a couple more things before I start doing the recap, even though it's kind of already a few minutes into it already. One, I'm going to concentrate more on getting you more videos, not just on music. I don't know why it took me so long to upload those videos of Ruth, but I am more determined to stick to the book readings, not to mention the karaoke's, the lyric videos. I'm still trying to contact my uncle because I know there are a couple of songs of his that I have difficulty understanding. Either that or I cannot hear very well. Yikes. Which is not a good thing because my hearing is kind of good. Not only am I going to be giving you guys more videos for my channel, the Esperanza 243, but I'm also going to be doing more videos on my new channel, my new YouTube channel, which is under my real name. I cannot figure out how to change the name of it, but it's going to be under my real name, but the title of the channel is going to be Rabbit's Fun World. Now that channel is going to be all about gaming. I'm going to be doing different games, and I actually did get permission from Her Interactive to do video walkthroughs, which is awesome. I'm not going to get paid for any of those games or the games that I'm going to be showing on that channel, mainly because I'm already earning money off this channel, and I honestly don't want to be earning. I don't want to start a career. I don't technically want to start a career on YouTube, mainly because I want to be an author, not just this, you know. But thankfully I'm earning money off the books that I'm reading to you guys, which is really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the book that you guys have been meaning to watch or even listen, because I know there are some people who prefer background noise rather than actually watching me. But that's fine. That's fine. So let's go ahead and get into, let's do like a quick recap of part 11, and then I'm going to go ahead and start reading. So I believe in part 11, Garnet learned quite a bit actually. She meets her aunt, a distant relative of her uncle's, Amethyst, Miss Amethyst. We don't really learn her last name, but Garnet still, you know, learns a lot from her aunt. She would probably call a new aunt, but I know that the way I pronounce aunt is actually the proper term, at least as far as I know. But before I started using aunt, before I saw The Parent Trap, at least the remake of it, I used to call her aunt. And really, if you say you step on an ant, you don't really mean your aunt. So, anyways, where were we? Garnett and Ezra take the unconscious Amethyst, who pretty much passed out after finding out that Garnett is a mermaid and down in Aquatica. That kind of shocked her a bit, and we don't really know why until she wakes up in Miss Darla's Cove, which is kind of a big thing. Amethyst tells Garnett that her mom has been having the. Oh wait, no, that's not okay. Miss Amethyst tells her that that she and her mom go to this area where they can have private discussions so that people in Aquatica don't hear about them, because the discussions they talk about is mainly about Garnett and her family on land. It's pretty interesting. And so I basically ended the video of, oh that's right, she also meets her mom, which is really cool. I basically ended the video with her having, like a nice casual conversation with her mom for the first time ever. So it's a pretty big deal, at least for Garnett it is. So let's go ahead and get to that. Yikes. I've been talking a long time. King Adelaide is a nice man. If someone interrupts politely, he lets them talk. He's an emotional person too. And Miss Darla, she is really nice. She does predict events. Oh, and her cove walls can make merfolk fall asleep and dream of their fears. I heard about her cove walls. I had a friend who was one of them. He's hardly afraid of anything now. Well, except spiders. He must have been on land at some point. Silence came as they swam in the tunnel. Garnett sighed. Do you know how long I've known Aunt Kaylee as a mother? I wanted to know, dear, she replied, brushing her fingers in her daughter's hair. I've known her as a mom for 15 years. Amber widened her eyes in shock. She never told you? She shook her head. She didn't tell me until I turned into a mermaid a few days ago. Her mother scoffed lightly. I knew that mermaid had to be you. I felt it in my bones, she whispered. She even told me of the nightmare you used to have. Her mother froze. Garnett turned toward her. She told me all the details she could remember, and when I was in Miss Darla's Cove, I fell asleep to the pattern in her walls. I dreamt of the entire nightmare, even every little detail. The parts of the nightmare you remember is from her memory. Amber covered her mouth as she widened her eyes. Her memory? My nightmare is part of someone's memory? Garnett nodded. The girl was actually a mermaid. She went up to the surface to relax and be herself. She saw that ship before the storm started. Then a friend of hers, Quentin she called him, tried to convince her to come back to Aquatica, or her uncle would have her fins. When that happened, a small storm was brewing. Garnett continued. But when Quentin told her uncle what she was doing, the storm got worse. Her uncle eventually went up to the surface. He was the second person in the nightmare. I think he used one of his abilities and gave her legs. She almost drowned because of that. And that's when you usually wake up, right? Because of one of the waves crashed into you? Her mother nodded. Well, there's more. After a few minutes, her uncle couldn't take it anymore. Karina, the young girl, was about to drown. He used his trident to save her and sent her away. He even made sure she would forget what happened that night. He also used his trident on himself to forget, too. Amber cocked her head, uncertain on how to take the story. His trident? You mean her uncle was the king? No, she said with a smile. Her mom narrowed her brows. Her uncle is the king. Amber became startled. How do you know for sure that he is the king? Mom, I had that dream before I met King Adelaide. When I told him every detail of that night, he remembered everything. He and his niece were able to remember the pain of that night somehow. And I think because of that pain, they were able to remember certain parts. His niece remembered she almost drowned and felt like she was torn apart. He remembered he was disappointed and felt like he tore her apart, for a good reason. Wow, Amber whispered. She'll never figure out who she is related to. That's sad. Garnet sighed. She never did. All of this happened over 100 years ago. I'm sure she's dead by now. The king has ruled for nearly 200 years. Oh my gosh, that's incredible. Surely she told someone on Land of the Nightmare. Otherwise I never would have dreamt it all. Who says she told someone? She figured. She looked her mother in the eyes. Amethyst told me that dreams can lead you to Aquatica. What if this dream was from one of our ancestors? Amber slowly smiled. Did you ever find out this girl's name? Garnet nodded. I thought it was Arena, but King Adelaide said her name was Karina. If her kids or grandkids ever came back to Aquatica, one of her relatives must know something. She widened her eyes. Like Grandma and Grandpa! Her mom widened her eyes with realization. One of them must have found the notes I left before Kaylee could read it. If she ever got it, that is. If they knew what I was talking about in my notes, they must have known something about our family history. Before widening her eyes once more, Garnet gasped. That would explain the answers Aunt Kaylee got from calling her aunts and uncles. Her mom gave her a confused expression. I got her to help me figure out some connections between you and me. One of your aunts told her that she shouldn't worry about me, as long as I don't swim in the ocean more than 3 or 4 times. And one of her uncles said to be careful. If anything would happen, I would have to stay away from water or the ocean before the first second of sunset. Wow, Amber sighed. It sounds like 2 of my relatives were once merfolk. She then realized something. That means we are related to a merperson. I think it's Karina, but I don't know how to figure out if we are related to her. Again, going over this book, I'm realizing that I probably shouldn't have just gone over this fact. Because just the fact that they are mermaids means they are related to some merperson. Amethyst would know. She knows a little more about our family. Plus, she's lived in Aquatica longer than I have. Let's find out. She and Garnet turned around and swam back to the big area of the tunnel. They found Amethyst and told her everything they've discussed about their family history. Sadly, she didn't have much information. I only know as far as my grandparents, great-aunts, and great-uncles, but nothing about my great-grandparents. Garnet wondered. Nothing about your great-grandparents? When were you born? Her mother gave their distant relative a concerned look. Amethyst sighed. I was born in 1975.
That's over 50 years ago,
she said with big eyes.
Amethyst, is there anyone in our family that knows at least 100 years worth of history?
Amethyst thought for a while and shook her head. Not that I know of. Who's still alive, that is.
I'm sorry, Garnet.
Good grief. I think I'm going to edit this stuff out, because seriously, researching this is just not important. I think that's what I'm going to do, because none of this stuff is important to the book. So, I'm going to go ahead and stop here as far as editing goes, and I will see you all in like a split second. Alright, I am back.
That's alright. I guess we don't really have to worry about it,
Garnet thought aloud.
I'm just too curious. Like Mary and Aunt Kaylee keep saying, the fact we are mermaids proves we're related to someone, right?
Amber smiled in affection. You definitely have your father's smartness, she said. Garnet bit her lower lip with a smile. I wonder if we should contact them. It's been a long time since I've heard their voices.
A lot has happened after my last call with Aunt Kaylee.
She pulled out a shell from her pail. Amber shook her head, almost forgetting about the shell communication.
Hello, Aunt Kaylee.
At that moment, Kaylee was in bed. She was falling asleep, but every time her eyes closed, she made herself open them up. She sniffed. I can't fall asleep, she murmured. Kaylee looked at her clock. It was midnight. I haven't heard from her since this afternoon. She yawned as her eyes drooped. I know I should be patient, she thought to herself. I can't help it. That was when the shell on her nightstand vibrated and bubbled. Her eyes widened in excitement. Kaylee grabbed the shell and put it up to her ear. Garnet? Garnet widened her eyes.
Hi, Aunt Kaylee,
she said excitedly. You're excited. What happened?
I'm looking at her. I'm looking at Mom.
Aunt Kaylee squealed with excitement, but worry filled her eyes. Could I talk to her, Garnet? It's been a long time after all. She never understood why Amber laughed. Garnet nodded.
Sure, Aunt Kaylee. Here she is.
She handed the shell to her mother.
Kaylee wants to talk to you.
With that, Amber grew nervous. Kaylee, is that you? She said, after placing the shell to her ear.
Amber, it's been so many years. How are you?
Amber smiled, imagining her sister.
I am fine. I'm sorry about the mess I left. It's all right. I just wish you had left a note or something.
Hearing that, she lowered her eyes in disappointment. What she feared did happen. Her sister never got the note. How could their mother do that? I had a feeling Mom was involved.
What are you talking about?
I did leave a note. I explained why I was leaving in that. She sighed. Ask Mom about it. I don't want her finding out, with me talking to you about the note. Kaylee thought about it. The note must be about Garnet, then. I guess that means you did want Daryl to raise her? She nodded. That's right. I did. I'm glad you helped, though. Next time we talk, I want to know everything about Patrick, she said, smiling. Her sister laughed. Garnet told you. She giggled, and then sighed. I'm glad you're all right, Amber. I was afraid you died of something else or something. Well, I didn't. From what I learned, dreams can lead you to the underwater city, she said, giving Amethyst a smile. It seems our Garnet has been researching on my nightmare.
I know. I've been helping her with that a little bit. Last I heard from her, she was researching, I think, for mer people who disappeared in the past 50 to 100 years. In fact, she told me a description of a storm that was like your nightmare. She got that info from someone, but I can't remember who. Garnet has solved most of it, but she pointed out that we don't need to finish it. Being a mermaid is proof enough. She chuckled. Goodness, Amber, she is so bright, Kaylee said. As soon as she finished, she took a deep breath and let it out. As a matter of fact, I need to talk to Garnet. She has one more decision to make. Alright then. Garnet's mother handed the shell back to her. She eyed her mom as she put the shell to her ear. Garnet, we need to talk, and I would like it if you stay on subject, she demanded gently. Garnet nodded with a sigh. Yes, Aunt Kaylee? I know you're trying to solve a mystery, but in the end you're going to have to make a decision. What decision is that? She replied, biting her lower lip. You'll need to figure out whether you're going to stay in this underwater city or live on land. Kaylee wiped her eyes before tears clouded her sight. I want to hear it from her. Those words I know she's going to say, Kaylee thought. Garnet gasped in horror. Tears filled her eyes. I can't believe this. You want an answer now. Now? That's right, Garnet. Whether you like it or not, you're going to face that choice. Tears fell down Kaylee's cheeks. I want to know. Are you going to choose land or sea? Tears came out of Garnet's eyes and floated away. She gulped. She didn't know what to say. I can't believe you. You know I have no option. I have to stay here in Aquatica. If I come back, where will I go when it's sunset? I can't sleep in the bathtub all night. The high school pool is no option. Where would I go? Kaylee shakily sighed. That's all I wanted to hear, dear. She sniffed. Since you're not coming back, I'll just figure out what to do with your things. I'll buy a new tight suitcase and put some of your clothes in there. I'll put the case on the rocks before I leave for the airport. She paused to wipe any tears away. I'll keep your collection of shells and this shell, so you can call me whenever you want. She paused so she could stifle a sob. I love you, Garnet. Enjoy your time with your mother. She put down her shell and looked at the nightstand. Kaylee sighed, putting her elbows on her knees, and thought of what happened. The waterworks then started. Garnet was speechless. Her mouth had dropped wide open. The shell in her hand slipped from her grips and fell to the rock ground. It was sturdy enough to keep its original shape. The shell didn't break. She then swam away from her mom and relative. She went the wrong way. Instead of going back to the rock sliding entrance, she went forward in the very long tunnel. Garnet headed toward a dangerous path. Amber gasped. Wait, Garnet! She called. She made a face and then turned to her distant relative. We have to stop her. If she goes too far, she might bump into some bad merman. Amethyst was confused, but only for a second. Oh gosh, not them, she whispered, her eyes filled with fright. I thought they were gone. King Adelais banned them. Amber nodded with fear. They're back. They found a way through that little cave not too far from here. She looked around a bit and realized Garnet left her shell. She picked it up and held it close to her heart. Her mom looked at Amethyst and then remembered the bad merman once more. Amber gasped as they went after Garnet. Garnet swam as far as she could. With her speed, tears ran down her cheeks instead of floating off. She tried wiping them away, but more were coming down. The bucket around her wrist kept hitting her in the arm as she moved her arms to swim. It felt like she kept going on for miles. Without watching, she bumped into someone. A merman turned around as she looked up. "Pardon, miss," the merman said. "I did not know anyone was down here." She wiped her nose as she sniffed. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Well, it's all right. Just be careful around these parts. It's pretty dangerous." Garnet nodded in confusion. Then she went ahead and swam on. She glanced around. What parts? What parts? There wouldn't be another exit for a long time. She did a double take as her eyes widened with shock. There were other mermen around. One of them carried a small box and grew impatient. The other was quite cross and stared at the merman she bumped into. The crossed merman became furious. The situation of these three seemed familiar to her. "No, no, 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 no!" he yelled. And that is where I'm going to stop. Good grief. Wow. Okay. So, once again, I do apologize for being late on updating Aquatica for you all, reading Aquatica to you all. I am working on improving that. Right now, it's just going to be one video every 2 weeks, at least for the next month or two. After that, hopefully I can get back to once a week. I don't know. But I am going to improve on that. Not to mention, I am going to improve on my gaming channel, as I said at the beginning of the video. Alright, so you guys are going to see something so cool in 3, 2, 1. Can you read that? I'm the psychotic writer everyone warns you about. That's me! Oh my gosh, I'm super psyched about this shirt. I'm gonna wear it. I'm gonna wear it tomorrow. And I know this isn't gonna be up for another week, but I am gonna be wearing this tomorrow for Thanksgiving. Oh my gosh. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving, and if you don't celebrate it, I hope you had a great day, because really, that's all we want, right? Anyways, so I am going to head out. I hope to see you all in the next video. I am the Esperanza243, saying goodbye to you all. Hope you have a great morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you are in the world. Stay awesome and stay on YouTube.